So today we're talking about Python variables. So what are Python variables? Python variables are, let's say variables in general. Variables in general are just containers for storing values. Let's say your algebra, they'll give you let's say they give you x, and your like x is equals to 3, and y is equal to 4, and z is equal to 6, 5. Let's say they'll now tell you to find x plus y plus 6, x plus y plus 7. So what's the answer? So what you do is collect the value for x, that's 3, and value for y, that's 4, and you add them 7, and you have your answer as 14. So this is how Python variables work. Variables in code in general works. It's just like a container for storing values, and you can able to reuse those values by just calling those, the variable names. This x now is called the variable name, and this 3 now is the like the value for the variable x. So you use them, reuse them, and do some stuff in Python code in general. So in Python, naming a variable is just as simple as just starting by calling the name. It- like that, you already said, you have already created a variable container. So let's create our variable file that we'll be using today. Variable dot py. So we want to create a variable called x. So have x equal to 3. And we want to print out, like I told you before, we're printing out our variables. We want to print out x to see what our x tells us. So we'll come to our terminal and do cls. Then we have Python variable dot py. So as you can see, I printed out x. As you can see, he printed out 3, the value for x, and x here is a variable. So we can assign variables any data type. So we have 3 data types. That's the string, which I've told you before. String is text. We have the int, which is number, and we have booleans. These are the 3 main. And we have booleans, which are either true or false. But we'll be talking about each of them later on. So let me write their names. We have the first one. Let me using the multiply comment, like I said before, I taught before. We have the first, that's number one. We have string. Number two, we have int, which is number, and number three, we have boolean. So we have a fourth one, which is floating point, or actually just float for short. So this float is decimals. This float is decimals. So we have rules. So we're going to the rules here. I wrote it down here. We have rules for naming, variables. So the first rule is that your variables, can only start your variable name. Just like we have x. Now x is a variable name. Even name can be a variable name. Like any name you think of can be a variable name, but they have rules for naming it. So but the first of all, we cannot start a variable name with like a character, let's say full stop, slash, or any other like character apart from letters and numbers. You cannot start it with just symbols. You cannot start with symbols. The only symbols you can start your variable name with is underscore. This underscore. So if I name name, as you can see, the thing works as a variable. You can only start your variable names with underscore. That's really the thing you can name it. You can start it with. You can now write, you can also start your variables with numbers. You cannot just come and want to start your variable and start name it from 3. As you can see, the code is even shining red itself. So that's very wrong. You cannot, that's an error. You cannot start that. That's an error. You cannot start your variables with a number. But you can now give it a number, like at the end you can attach a number close to it. Let's say number 3, I think here should be equal to, let's say 3 should be equal to this. So that's that. You can also put a symbol on your variable name. Like you can't even do that. Yeah, it's going to like make it wrong. You cannot start with it and you can also add it. So as you can see, this is wrong. As you can see, I put that. That's wrong. So you cannot do that. So I'm noting down these rules. You can only write your variable names starting with underscore or your a number, I mean a letter or a full word that you already know. And you can also add numbers, let's say at the end or in the middle, depending on how you want to do yours. So that's how the naming rules are. So those are the naming rules. So you can write them down and you practice. If you see any error, you know that those ones does not also work too. But I mentioned all the whole rules. So your variable name is any name you want, any name you want to give it, you can give it to it. So let's say we have name and we have it as a string, let's say so yes. So we're printing out name. So let's go here. Okay, X is not. So I comment on that to see if I comment on it now. You see, it will not even run again. Like I told you in the previous video on comment. So you can see Shin also is printed out. So we're talking. Okay, I'm talking about the variable type in boolean floating point and outputting. So the last part in the variables is that variables can change. As you can see from the name variables can change. They are not always constant. They are dynamic. They are not meant to they are meant to still want as how you give it, but if you assign it a new variable, a new name, uh, it will change depending on it. So as you can see now, name is shown also at first and I'm printing out name. So if I should come under and still give name another value, let's say Obi, and I should print out name, it will print out this new value for name. So instead of printing out the old one, it will print out the old one first because this comes before I already assigned a new value. Then it will now print out this other one after I already finished assigning a new value. So I'll print, as you can see, Chinonso comes first, then the second one Obi comes. But see, if I should move this upwards, as you can see, I've given it a new value. Instead of it printing out this Chino, so it's going to print out Obi because this is the latest value for that variable name. So I come here and print it out. As you can see, shows Obi twice. So as you can see, you can reassign a value to already called variable. As you can see, this one is already called, and I still reassigned name another value. So we can check the type. Can check the type of a variable. Can check the type of variable. So that's name. If we want to print, I'll be using print. So I'll be using um type of. So I think type. So once I put type of, and I should come, as you can see, string class string, that's string. So if you want to know the type of the variable you're calling or you have already assigned to, so you write type and you put brackets and you put the variable in the bracket. So to assign a variable here, I mean something. So to assign a variable, we use the equal to sign. So this equal to sign, once you start it, it means that this at the left hand side is being given the value at the right hand side. That's, let me say, age is equal to 7. So this value at the right hand side is being given the value to this age. Is being given value to this age. So age is now 7. So this equal to sign means assignment. So I'm assigning 7 to age. I'm assigning 7 to each. So that's that. Then I told you that we'll be talking about printing, like how we printed text and all, combining it with number. We can also do that with variables. So to do that with variables, I told you we'll be using a comma. We cannot print um all the whole variables in one line without separating them. Like it should be an error. As you can see, I printed number and name and age together, and let's see, it will not run. As you can see, there's an error. But to actually print them on the same line, same print, you have to separate them with a comma. As you can see, separate them with a comma. And we should go to our terminal and should run it. As you can see, OB7. So I can still put a text here in the middle. OB is here. As you can see, OB. Then I separated with comma for the new string. I put in is, and now separated it. So as you can see, we see OB is 7. So as you can see, OB is 7. So you can practice this. Name any variable you want, any ones you want, but and normally I only did numbers and strings here, but so you can actually use numbers and strings. You can actually give um this number, you can actually make it a decimal by just putting points and the next number, as you do with your normal decimals, and check the type of what age you be. That's also an assignment. But when I'm talking about numbers as a whole, you will see you see how it will come out as its type. So that's that for variables. Variables, like I say, variables is a container for just storing values which can be reused and anywhere in your code. Thank you and see you in the next video.